Hello everyone and welcome back to EV.com. Before we get started, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe for more EV content. So today we're going to do another versus, another head-to-head. This time we're going to stay within one brand, that is the Zeekr brand, and we're going to look at two different car models. So two of its most successful car models. One of them is this model behind me, which is the 007 GT, a performance Grand Tourer wagon. The other one is the Zeekr 7X, a performance SUV. So both different vehicles. Both are headed to global markets. So yes, that's right. If you are very lucky, you might have the choice between these two for your next EV. We're going to take a look to see which one is the right one for you, and make sure you let us know which one you prefer in the comments below. So let's start with the design. Obviously both of these are from the 7 family, so definitely share their similarities, but are obviously different vehicle types, so different in their own individual unique way. The 7X has lots of aerodynamic sleek lines. We have the smooth front and a more aggressive rear end, perhaps a kind of typical SUV shape, but in a very modern and futuristic form. Despite it being an SUV, it only has an aerodynamic rating slightly worse than the GT. So the GT itself is, like I mentioned, almost a carbon copy of the 007 and the 7X. Very similar at the front, although the GT has been given a little bit more aggression, which continues as you go down the side and to the back, where you kind of get this feeling of performance, the feeling that this car is not to be messed with. One thing which should be noted is the GT is actually 10 centimeters longer than the SUV. How this will impact trunk space, we'll take a look a little bit later. So which of the Zeekrs do you prefer? Is it the GT or the SUV? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. So as we move inside, we can still see some of the similarities, including the center unit, although the 7X has a slightly bigger screen and those buttons again, and the 7X has one extra button, which is for the glove box. So is it important to have a physical glove box button? Make sure you tell us in the comments. Both have lots of Nappa leather and micro suede for a very premium interior feeling. Both have these kind of AR heads-up display, although I will say the SUV of course has a better view and driver's position, speaking as a tall person of course. For the center unit, I think I prefer the 7X. I think the GT try too hard to look sporty and it's a little bit too complicated. I like things to be a little bit more simple, but which one do you prefer? Make sure you let us know. In the rear of the vehicle, the GT has great legroom, but not the best headroom. It is obviously adapted from a sedan and it has the battery underneath. Of course, the SUV has loads of headroom and loads of legroom. So obviously it depends on what trim you go for. And if we're talking top level, the 7X has heating, ventilation and massage functions. The GT only has a heating function for the second row. In addition, while both do have rear tinted windows and a protective sunroof, the 7X does have those electric blinds, which should be very useful if you have people sitting in the back regularly, especially young children. Okay, let's talk space, and we'll start with the front. Both of these have a front, and the size depends on if you go for the all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive version. So GT, 53 liters for the rear-wheel drive and 20 liters for the all-wheel drive version. The 7X slightly bigger at 44 for the all-wheel drive version and 62 for the rear-wheel drive version. In terms of the trunk space, actually the GT has more to offer in the back, but both have a good amount of storage. The 7X does have electric second row reclining seats, which is useful if you're not as flexible as you used to be, like myself. So in terms of the power output, both of these vehicles are based on the kind of Geely Group's SEA architecture, and both actually have the same power output. So that's 475 kilowatts, 710 newton meters of torque in the top spec. However, due to their different weights and vehicle classes, shapes or whatever, in the 7X, this leads to a 0 to 100 time of 4.3 seconds, which is very good for a kind of small SUV. However, in the GT, this goes down to 2.95, so less than 3 seconds in the GT. The GT is a little bit rapid, and I might actually dare to say a little bit overpowered. Both of them are also very comparable in terms of battery charging. So for charging speeds, I'll put something on the screen here, but basically both of these have the same battery options and therefore the same charging speeds. They are capable up to 500 kilowatts of charging if you can find the charger. These vehicles are kind of future-proofed for a couple of years, so while your charger might not be fast enough now, it might be a few years down the line when you still have your Zeekr 7X or your 7 GT. So how about the driving experience of these two? Well, obviously one is an SUV, one is a GT, which will tell you everything you need to know. But I have to say that Zeekr offers some of the best electric vehicle driving performances on the market, and especially among Chinese EV brands. Their tuning, their handling, their performance is all class leading. I sometimes feel they're a little bit overpowered, but I'd rather have too much power than not enough. The 7X for me has a really good balance of ride comfort and driving dynamics. I wouldn't say it's the most engaging in terms of driving experience, but way more engaging than many other SUVs you get on the market. Plus, it's an SUV with air suspension, so we have, very comfortable ride. We have a high ground clearance. We have more adjustability. The GT probably has a little bit less in terms of comfort, although a very good amount of comfort, surprising amount of comfort, but it kind of dials up on the performance. So as we know, more acceleration, same power, more acceleration, but it's very planted. It's very low to the ground, especially if you put it in sports mode, and you really can enjoy driving this car. So I guess I would put it like this. The 7X has great comfort and good performance. The GT has great performance and good comfort. So it's about which of these is more important for you. So while they both have air suspension, obviously the SUV has a greater amount of kind of flexibility. So up to 230 millimeters of ground clearance and a total adjustability of 70 millimeters. The GT can go up to 165 millimeters from the ground and 55 millimeters of kind of like adjustability. Of course, it's not going to be the level of the SUV. It still does offer some flexibility there. While the overseas prices for the GT haven't been released, in the China market, the 7X is around 25% more expensive than the GT for the base model. So based on this, we can come up with some rough estimates. But regardless, if the 7X was 25% more than the GT in your market, which one would you choose? So we have a luxury performance-orientated GT for going long trips, or a family-friendly SUV with solid performance and lots of space. Which one of these would you choose? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe for more EV comparison videos. I'll see you next time.